Mine.
Hello, guys. We want to say thank you for joining us again on Advocacy. We have a fun group of people tonight that we want to shed light on. Of course, this is Crystal and her family. So I want to start off by saying my name is Paula. I am the mom of two, Morgan and Jeremy. Jeremy's 24, Morgan is 19, and she's special needs. I am also the wife of Harp. And I just want to welcome everybody tonight. Bunny,
Hello, everybody. I am Bunny. I am married. I live in Maryland. I have three adult children, and I advocate for my autistic grandson, Grayson.
okay. So with that being said, we're going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting off with Jai.
I am Gail. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Sean.
My name is Nashawn. I'm 22.
Okay. Faith.
Hi, my name is Faith, and I'm 19.
Okay.
My name is
Daniel.
Dan, and I'm 15.
My name is Roman and I am 12.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so what we're going to do is have Dave to this is of course Crystal's husband. I'm going to have Dave and Crystal to tell us a little bit about themselves and their family.
Roman.
So my name is Crystal. David and I have been married for 26 years, and these are our children. We currently reside in Michigan, and we've been here for 17 years now. So, David.
And as Chris said, my name is David. I am Crystal's husband. Actually, we have 5 children together. I do have one that is not on, but excited to be here this evening to facilitate and answer questions. So thank you for having us.
Okay. Well, of course
Awesome.
we was off the screen and we had the fun pack. I mean, this is going to be I think it's going to be an exciting show. But I want to start off with telling us about we know that when Crystal introduces herself on a regular podcast, she tells us that she has 3 kids with disabilities. So, with that being said, I want to kind of lead into that, go directly into that, just to tell us about your children with disabilities. And then, siblings, jump in where if you want to say something, just go ahead and jump in.
No,
Crystal, Dave, who wants to start?
Yeah, okay. Um, so Jael, I talk about Jael on our podcast. She is currently 24 years old, and she has cerebral palsy. She also has, I don't have all the correct terms, but where the left side of her body is affected, like her fingers and all, they're slightly smaller, and it's not as noticeable unless she's up close.
Mhm.
Something else with Jael, she's considered to have her speech is unintelligible, but as you see, she always wants to communicate with us as best as she know how, and then she uses her cell phone as a communication aid device if she should need it. And Jael does not chew her food, so she does, but she does eat what we eat. I usually cook her food very tender, and that's Jael. And then I have beside me my 2 boys, Roman and Daniel. They've both been diagnosed on autism spectrum, and they've both been diagnosed with ADHD. And they are definitely 2 totally different boys, and they are a fun bunch. I call them Tom and Jerry, and you get to know more about them throughout the podcast.
Okay, Dave, did you want to jump in and tell us a little bit
Just say
too?
just as Chris shared, the very unique thing about all 5 children is that they have their own personality, they have their own strengths. I say this, they make their presence known, all of them. And so that being said, when I look at just how far they've come, with the services, and at the same time helping the Lord and with the family, I am not shocked by the strengths that they have and the things that they can do. It is, they are their best version of them, which is exciting to see growth every single day.
I like that you said that they are the best versions of them. I love that. I love that.
Okay, now did I answer the question right? I was a little distracted. I just like said something, you was like Crystal. I think something I've always said on the show about my kids, and I told them growing up, like all of you guys have special needs, you know, not just saying that they have disabilities or challenges, but that I meet the needs of them specifically. They all have different uniqueness about them. And so it's not for any of them to look at one another and look down or say, you can't do this, because what someone may be weak in an area, another one of their siblings have a strength in that area. So that's something that I've said to kind of like level that playing field in my household. So no one ever looked at one another and just thought, I don't think they did, but just making sure, like, this is how it is for everyone.
Okay, guys.
It's funny that you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paula. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. This is.
No, I was just thinking that, you know, as Chris has said, I mean, we have looked at the situation with them across the board, and whether neurotypical, atypical, we've often reminded them at the end of the day, you know, when you look at the family as a unit, the association of support that we should give one to another. If it's anywhere, it begins here. So there are those who can do certain things, and you know, we see the strength in how they rise to the occasion to support. But at the same time, as Chris said, we all have kind of needs that we need help and assistance with. But we just reinforce the idea that, you know what, if help is ever going to come, it is going to come from everybody under this roof. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that when I think about Faith is going, and kind of, you know, how they, I say this, rally around the needs that may be there. I say this, it is effortless, because I think they all understand that we all play a role in this.
Guys, do you all feel like that? I know you hear your mother and father say this. I know this is how you were raised to function. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us from your standpoint as you were coming up and hearing this from your parents saying, listen, guys, everybody is on the same playing field in here, and we are here to meet the needs of each other. Tell us a little bit about that and how you guys feel about that.
I say they're pretty spot on, you know, especially like going through each of the stage of life, kind of like middle school, high school, and beyond right now. Yeah, they do their best to balance between everybody, just knowing like, hey, if there is a glaring need for something, it's usually taken care of. And also, like, we all have the mindset of this is family. Like, the most at if there's any animosity, it's like because we're joking around and somebody didn't take it well, or we're playing a game and somebody, you know, I'm not gonna say somebody's a sore loser, but somebody's a sore loser, you know. So, but at the end of the day, we're family, and like that's not. I don't think that has ever been like miscommunicated in this sense. So,
Does anybody else want to jump in?
I guess Sean really just hit the nail on the head. You know, our family, our parents, they've definitely told us the importance of just family. Like, I feel as though if anyone else is going to treat it, like, we need to treat each other nicely. We need to be friendly. Being with siblings with special needs has taught us that, to be a little bit more empathetic, to be a little bit more understanding. And my parents have made it very utterly clear, like, we are family, we are all that we have. And so we need to treat each other as such. And they made that very blatantly clear at a young age. And so I feel like that allowed us to like speak up for like Jai or Daniel or Roman. Like, you can treat anyone else a certain type of way, but you're not going to treat my family this way. Because we're, you know,
they just right, really taught. That's right.
Right. You know, they just really taught us to really care for one another. And because of our differences, like, it helped us understand each other in a better way. So I would definitely say that they did a good job at establishing that foundation for us at a very young age.
I love that, Faith, that you're going to stand up. They can say whatever they want to say, but when it comes down to Jai, Roman, and Daniel, come correct. I love that. And Crystal and Dave, I love the fact that you guys have raised them to stand up for their siblings and to know that family matters and family is first. That's really good.
Mhm.
Yes. Roman said he wanted to say something about his family. What
Come
did
on,
you want
Roman.
to share? How do you feel about your family?
That is kind to me because I have my first birthmark in my right hand because it makes me special about
Awesome.
my own human faces.
Mm. Okay. Well, I will say this too. You know, I know Faith says you can bother everybody else, but you can't come at her siblings. But I disagree with that because I've seen her stand up for other people as well. And I love that about her. I love that about you guys, period. And I think sometimes that helps you to stand, it helps you to stand up for others. I think, like you say, it makes you empathetic, it makes you sympathetic, it makes you know that, listen, this may not be my brother, this may not be my cousin, but guess what? I'm gonna stand in the gap. And that little feistiness that Faith had, mhm, I don't see her just doing that for her sisters and brother, but this came out of her having siblings with that disability. I do. So I can appreciate that. Tell us, y'all, when you were coming up in the schools, because I know you guys were going to school with Jai. I don't think you guys went to school with Daniel and Roman. Tell us, you know, how you came across, like what did people ask you about Jai? Tell us how your friends accepted her. Tell us, because I know a lot of it stems from the fact that you're gonna stand up for her. So most of the time people follow after your character. But tell us a little bit about that.
I think that's a great place for Sean to start because Jai was able to come to general education at grade 3. And then she came to her home school for 4th and 5th grade, which put her in the class with Nashawn. So Nashawn, I think that's a really good question for you.
Oh, absolutely. And ever since then, middle school, high school, we've been in the same grade. So I'd say early on, most people asked if they did talk about Jai, it would be like out of curiosity. So it wasn't anything like blatantly offensive. They'd be like, can you explain what this is or what this is? So like I could explain to the best of my ability back then. And then at some point I actually had to do some research so I could better understand myself. I believe there's like a few instances where they like kind of came off of a snide comment, and you know, you try to gracefully put them back in their place, you know, before it escalates. But no, obviously Jai was very popular in high school, so like the support was never an issue. So, and that actually is amazing to see, like the fact that I didn't have to personally worry about, hey, how is Ann Arbor treating my sister, like throughout the year. So that was beautiful.
From Jai's smile, I could tell that was, I remember how popular Jai was. From that smile, it tells me everything. What you think, Faith? Because did you go to school with them, Faith?
I went to school with Sean and Jai when I was in kindergarten and 1st grade. They were in 4th and 5th grade, and that was the only time we were in the same building. I will say I probably didn't have that same. I was never really put in Sean's position in terms of Jael. I don't really think some people knew that I was their sibling, but not everyone did. And I don't know. I feel like I was kind of like in my own world. And by the time Daniel came, that's when I was really put in Sean's position with Jai. Don't get me wrong. Like, people did also ask me about Jael. It was more like, I feel like they were asking about the way that she spoke, because I can ask my family. I am fluent in Jael. We've shared a room for the longest. She would say something and people would be like, what did she just say? And I'm like, well, she said this. Like, she said she doesn't want a cookie. she said she wants a chocolate chip cookie. And I'm like, why don't you get it? Like, I understood her well. And some people called me the translator. Like, I'm like, that she was just born like that. And I was like, I was like, when people ask why does she speak like that? I'm like, speak like what? I'm like, she speaks perfectly fine to me because I understand. If you don't understand, that's your problem. Okay. But really, I just really wanted people to know that it's possible to understand Jai because I do it all the time. Like, I know what she likes, what she doesn't like, and I was like, I moved along. And as for Daniel, that was a different story. I was in 4th grade, like when Sean and Jai were in 4th grade. I was in 4th grade when Daniel got to kindergarten, and Daniel was popular too. Not in the way like Jael. Like, who is that kid running down the street? Who is that kid running down the hall? He eloped a lot. And
wow.
I told the supervisors, I was like, that's your job. I was like, you want me to go to the street too? I was like, in the 4 walls, I did as much as I could. Students came to me, teachers came to me about Daniel from 4th and 5th grade, and that really just put me in a position to really advocate for him because some people weren't familiar with his behavior and they questioned it. They were like, this isn't right, this is strange. They weren't used to it, and I told them, like, this is how he is, and I helped him the best that I could. My mom always came to our school too, so she was involved. Like, we knew Daniel, and Daniel wasn't alone. He was supported by his teachers. His kindergarten teacher was such a help. You know, and I did as much as I could as a 4th and 5th grader. And listen, there were times I had to clean up after him, but that's for a different story. But if I had to clean up after him, I might have had to walk him to his next class, and that was okay because I was willing to do it because that's my brother, you know. And it was a learning experience. It really was, because it taught me how to better accommodate someone like him. So it was good.
That is so good. You know, Crystal, this is good because as Faith is talking about Daniel, it makes me think of Bailey with Grayson. So I have Bailey is my granddaughter, Faith, and she is that person like you. She would help Grayson. Grayson is nonverbal. And I can see a 15, a 16-year-old Bailey doing the same thing you're doing for your brothers, for her cousins. So I guess it's all in what you instill in your children on how to show empathy and to be there and to be supportive. And it's really good that taught you, because not only did you extend that to your family, like Paula said, you extend that to others outside your family. So that's really good. But I do have a question for Crystal and Dave. With everything, your family dynamic with the disabilities, how does it make you feel with those challenges that come up, like with Daniel? Like, you know, you ever feel like, I can't catch a break, he's doing something, they're calling me again?
Well, before I answer that, Daniel said he wanted to share how it was going to school with Faith.
Oh, okay. Come on here, Daniel.
When I was around with Faith, she was a big help to me. And usually I go to her if I had some trouble with them.
Crystal, move.
You have to come a little closer to the mic. We want to hear you.
Well, I heard him complimenting me. Thank you.
Can you start over, Crystal, because I couldn't really hear.
He was saying that Faith was a really big help to him in school, and she was someone that he could go to, especially when it was like he was having trouble.
Did she make you feel safe, Daniel? Having your sister, your older sister, in school with you, did it make you feel safe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it too?
Okay.
Did you hear? He said, yeah. He said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, Bunny was asking David and I a question about specifically about Daniel.
Well, just the whole family dynamics, you know, the challenges that you face as parents with 3 kids with disabilities.
And
Oh,
three
wow.
different types of disabilities, like you said.
Yeah, there are three different type of disabilities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
David.
First thing that gets us through it is knowing that we're not in this by ourselves. We can look at it from a natural sense, but I know we can't do anything without the help of the Lord. So we would be foolish to believe that even if we had all the the understanding and the capable cognitive knowledge, it's a challenge in itself, knowing that you could easily fall into that mindset of why this, why now, why this next thing. At the end of the day, sometimes I know this sounds very, I say natural, but it's like, you play the hand that you're dealt. But I also know that there were far greater situations that when we start looking at the things that are around us and some of the struggles that, even when people don't have disabilities and other things in their family that they have to face, and if they're facing it without the Lord, it puts things in perspective of He didn't put anything on us that we couldn't bear. I will say this. I'm not saying it's not a challenge. What I am going to say is greater is He that's in us. And then I'll also say this. You would be surprised at how you can learn from, sometimes people may say, well, this person has a disability or this person has this issue going on. But I promise you, I learn as much from Daniel, Roman, and Faith as I do from anybody who doesn't face the challenges they face. And one specific example I'll give you, I remember when Jai started going to school, and it was a school in Tennessee, and there was a young lady, me and Chris walked in, we're talking to the teacher, and there was a young child in a wheelchair. You could tell that, she had restrictive mobility. And, for the longest time when Jai was growing up, we would always tell Jai, wipe your mouth. And Jai had the capability of not only understanding and following the instructions, but she could actually physically do it. We're sitting there with a teacher in this school, and this young child was sitting in the wheelchair, and Jai was just looking at her. Jai just grabbed a paper towel or handkerchief and went over and she wiped her mouth. And when I tell you that you can learn that even though they may not know what's going on with them, but they know what they can do. And when you have a young child showing you that, guess what? I can do some things. I have the capability and I have the function to do something, and I can be a help. I use this to this day. I promise you that was probably 17, 18, 19 years ago. Easy. And I still draw from that experience of what Jai can teach us about what we may not feel like is fair to us, and what we may feel like, it's not right. God, I'm tired of this hand. Lord, one more time. It's, at the end of the day, I can't speak for Chris, but I think I think we're in the same boat of, we're going to do the best that we can with the help of the Lord.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I love that, because one thing that showed her. Yeah, I mean, when I say that just touched my heart, because I know Jael, and I know Jael is one of the kindest, just the sweetest. And so for me, where some would be drooling and thinking, ooh, the fact that she looked at that as it was nothing to her to be able to just go help somebody. That's a blessing within itself. That speaks volumes about the parents alone. Yeah.
Jai, do you remember that moment? Jai, do you remember that moment?
No.
Okay.
No. But you know that you're loved. You know that you're a lovable person, correct, Jai?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
That's facts right there.
I'm gonna tell you, she is mama number two. She's mom number two.
That's
she is mom number two.
Make her feel like she say sometimes, because Jai be on it. She is like the sergeant at arms in the house.
Mm-hmm.
She be locking these kids down. Daniel and Roman be like, "You not mom."
Yeah, I've been arms, right?
Jai, do they listen to you? Do they listen to you though, Jai? Do they listen?
No.
They should listen. They should listen. But yeah, just as Josh said, not Daniel. So man,
I'm about to say, because Ro listened, because before the podcast, Jai was like, "Bro, get in this tub." And I was like, you better listen to her. She said, get in there, get your body clean.
Look, we're trying to hurry Daniel upstairs. I'm like, dude, it's 6:55. Like, make your way upstairs. Like, yeah, they taught us a lot of patience. That's talking about lessons. Yeah, patience. Lots and lots of patience. Like,
Sean, you need a little bit more patience.
oh yeah, no, I'm still working, but you know, I'm
I'm
coming a
like, I'm
long
still
way.
working.
I believe I'm coming a long way.
So you take the hardcore approach, Sean, right?
Unfortunately, I believe. Well, I feel like Daniel and Roman would attest. And yes, I feel like I've gotten a little softer. You know.
What?
Okay.
Sean, like, Sean, look, let me tell you, Sean.
I just have
like,
a deep voice.
No,
I just have a
Sean be,
deep voice.
Sean be in the vicinity, like maybe the kitchen or something. Daniel walks by. He's like, Daniel, sit down. I was looking like,
Nah,
what did you
that's
do?
because he keeps coming up and down the stairs, and he just bothers.
He was just like, I'm bothered. He keep walking by me. He needs to sit down. I was just like,
But does he
nothing.
listen to Sean?
He does.
Yeah, they listen. Yeah.
But you did say before the podcast that he's going to be taller than you too. You know that, right?
Oh, he definitely. Yeah, they probably will. It's
Well, who was
It's
the
inevitable.
original first babysitter? Who was the original first babysitter?
Who?
Was it Sean?
I'm assuming that's.
It was not Sean.
Yeah.
Like,
Me. Oh, thank you.
there were times that like Dave and I needed to like go for a walk after dinner, and we felt like our kids were getting of age that we could walk around the neighborhood, you know. And I think Roman was still a baby, and he was at that age where like you feed him in a high chair, and he would just stay there for another hour or two, you know, in the high chair, just playing with something there. And so we started using that hour or two after dinner. Like, let's go for a walk. And Sean was the one in charge. And Sean had a deep voice, you know, like middle school, 8th grade. So Sean was really good at saying Roman, you know, and Roman being a baby, he caught his attention, and he could tell Daniel, like, sit down, do this, clean up your toys. And they listened to him. So now Sean was our first babysitter. And that's when I started feeling like, honestly, I could breathe a little. Like I could step away. Like, you know, you run to the grocery store and you don't need everybody to come in. You just want to go get your box of macaroni and get out. Yeah. Having a kid like Sean in the car was like a godsend. You know, nobody was going to take off and the car wasn't going to back up in the driveway. It was stuff like that. And then it started becoming that Jael had them on lockdown. So I was like, girl, Jael was second in place. Like, those were the years I started feeling that extra relief, especially because David job, he traveled a lot. So just having two older kids who were very mindful, knew the rules, knew the expectations, that was starting to help me feel like I could breathe a little.
Yeah, because I can imagine with Bunny what she's saying. I mean, again, it's not that you kind of question God, but sometimes it can be overwhelming, as we know. You know, when you have special needs kids, because as we know, when you have neurotypical, and then you add on the special needs that you can't sit down and close your eyes and go to sleep, you know, without waking up to something, it can be overwhelming. But I think having these shows, and this is the whole reason why we have these shows, is to show people that it won't always be like that. You know, things get better. Things do get better. They grow up, they go through their different phases, and things do get better, especially if you have the siblings that know them well, because out of everybody, we know the siblings know them well.
Yeah. Now, and it does help, like Dave. Oh, go ahead, Paula.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, Bonnie.
And it does help, like Dave said, to bring in that spiritual part of it. God he plays a huge role when your spiritual and your faith, you've got, you know, your faith in God, it plays a major role in, you know, how you internalize all of this, because the way that you guys handle it with grace, because of God, you know, being a center of your family, another family might have crumbled under the fact of having multiple kids with disabilities. So um, that is really important, that really God, that people actually look to God for help in situations like this. We should have God on our side anyway, but it definitely plays a huge role to develop a strong relationship with God, so that He can lead and guide you through. Because I love the fact that Faith, Sean, and Jael is really able to handle Daniel and Roman and to advocate for them. And Sean and Faith advocate for Jai if they need to. So I love that. And it takes parents looking ahead, like forward thinking, not thinking for just the moment and handicapping the kids. You guys are really teaching them life lessons on how to really care and to take care of each other. I love it. I love it.
Interesting point. I think even with the spiritual side, I will throw this out there. Like Chris is, when I say, in the trenches. And I know that I think sometimes when she said, hey, I used to travel a lot, and it wasn't like I'd be in the state. It'd be, 2 or 3 states over. But I will say this, it's a blessing to know that, even in all of these things, God still gives you some wisdom. And sometimes a husband may feel like, well, if I'm coming home, you can't go, you can't leave, you got to stay here because you got to help me with them. And I will say this, and this is something that, maybe Chris can speak on, but even when the kids were younger, and she'd be like, I want to go on a girls trip, it wasn't like I did not have the capability, confidence, or the skill set to be able to, operate and move in a home without her being there. Which I think sometimes, going back to just the family support that you mentioned, they are as much mine as they are hers. And despite the fact that there may have been issues in regards to the disabilities, you can't be like, you can't leave. And I know that some husbands may feel like, I don't know what to do, and I need you to be here, but she needs that peace of mind too, to be able to leave, and I say reset and recalibrate and then come back, because unfortunately this doesn't end. It's one of those things where, while the changes in life and transition may be there, as a family unit, you got to support one another, and you got to know when there's a time for a break and for rest. And you got to make sure that, hey, we all know how to move, and we all know the right thing to do, and we all know how to, take on the responsibility of what it takes in order to make sure that everybody's not only safe, but they're, moving and doing what they need to do from a protection standpoint. So, I thank the Lord for giving me some wisdom, even in a sense where, it came down to just simple girls trips. And I don't mean that in a small way. I mean it in like, you gotta disconnect. You gotta reset. And and the last thing I'll say on just the preparing and looking into the future, if the Lord tarry, there will come a time when we won't be here. And then you are absolutely right about preparing and making sure that there is no burden put on anyone, because you are responsible and accountable for making sure that you set things in order. And I'm not just talking about life insurance, and I'm not just talking about having a place for somebody to stay. I'm literally thinking proactively and long term in regards to what it's going to take in order to make sure that the responsibility, even when you're physically not here, can still go on. So, and that's what wills, and that's what making sure that there is people who are responsible and accountable for, I said it's managing money or things of that such. All of those things play a role in what success looks like long beyond this, July 1st, 2024.
You made some
Absolutely.
excellent points, Dave.
Good stuff, Dave. Good
Several
stuff.
excellent points. When I just tell you, first and foremost, I think, and we had me and hubby's show on a couple of weeks ago, and some of these same things that we talked about as far as these outlets, and I've been a witness, of course, on the girls trip with Crystal. And I mean, it's beautiful, because before I could even go, Crystal was always gone on the trip, and I was just like, but that was just such a blessing, because I think that can happen. And if when you have that family unit that functions and works together, because like we were saying on our show, all the time it's not going to be where we can go together this time. So it's like, listen, you have your time, I have my time, we have our time. So it has to definitely be a balancing act. I mean, and I, like I say, I've always commended you guys, because when Crystal always wanted to go somewhere, Crystal went. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I always commended Dave, and just was like, Dave was a great dad, because it shouldn't be when the mother goes somewhere that she has this burden left behind, that she don't know what's going to happen with the kids. That's never been the case, and I'll let Crystal speak to that a little more, as far as her being out, being able to go and do her me time.
Yes, it's definitely been very, very helpful in my life, for me, for my mental wellness, for my physical, my spiritual, just all, for the whole of me. And I used to always let my teachers know, because I did not want them to think, Faith go to school and be like, my mom in Chicago, she said she needed a break. I was like, okay, let me just put my own business out there to the teachers and let them know. And then it was definitely I wasn't able to do the things without the support of David. With David and I being both from the East Coast, living in the Midwest practically, with no blood relatives within like 500 miles of us. So just building a community here, it started with our church family, just people that God has placed in our lives. And I will say, sometimes we haven't, the imbalance would have been, and it's just to the natural eye, but maybe just on a whole scale, it might not seem to be an imbalance, but it seemed like David allowed me to always go. And then David and I will always go. And then, there were not as many of the whole family, if you can understand, like a whole family. For a family of 7, sometimes we put more efforts in a bigger trip, or like little smaller things, like, the amusement park. But like some of the trips, David and I really traveled, and we needed that for the strengthening of our marriage, of our unit, of our togetherness, of our mindset, so that the whole family could, benefit. And so to another eye, they might say, that's an imbalance. Y'all should did more family stuff. But I don't even think we waited like that. It just happened like that. Just think David just was always concerned about me. And then he was concerned about us two together. And then, there were those family units. And I did start feeling a little some type of way as we get older, like seeing my family move to a different area, like now Sean graduating college, Faith is in college. It's like, oh my gosh, we need more family trips, and I want to do more things with my family. But, it's still, we try not to, not include them, but it's just that much important that sometimes it's just David and I, and that's something that we want our kids to see, and see the importance of that in marriage. I hope we're setting a good example in front of them.
How do you guys feel about
Let's
that?
ask them. What do you guys feel about what Mom just said?
So Dad says all the time that Mom's first, which I feel like we understand, and no, they do. They take care of each other. Like we see all aspects,
Sean is crazy.
I think I would agree with the family trips. I'm ready for the next one.
I missed out some good
what are we thinking? But yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it that way. It's good to have that perspective, because I just thought y'all was just traveling out the country. I'm like, okay, what about us?
Man, parent number 3. Look,
I'm keeping it real. I'm like,
they go again.
I guess I never really thought about it that way. I think that was refreshing to hear because, you know, without you guys, there wouldn't be a us.
Exactly.
You know, you have to solidify a good marriage in order to have a good family, I would say. So I think it's important for you guys to have that time together to really strengthen your relationship. And I feel like you guys have been a pretty good model of what it is to be in a good, healthy marriage. And I don't take that for granted because there are a lot of people who don't have that. And you know, I'm hoping that we could get something like that, like me or Sean or Jai or Daniel or Roman. Like, I want us to be able to have a good, healthy, long-lasting marriage as well. So I think
Where is my tissue?
No, but you know, it's funny because I never even
so
thought
beautiful.
I never even thought about it like that. In order for your household to be happy, the marriage needs to be happy. And that, when you think about it from a scripture standpoint, that's how it's supposed to be. Because if their mother and father are at each other's throats, it takes and it sets the tone for the entire household.
Exactly.
Like, you guys probably wouldn't even be sitting here wanting to be a part of this podcast. So they may be afraid of what they're gonna say because yeah, you know, there's a lot that goes on in the household, and it comes out. It's just like when you eat garlic, it comes out your pores. It's like when you are in a household that's not harmonious, it comes out in your kids. It does.
That was beautiful. I mean, I love y'all. That Dave and Crystal, y'all are doing something good, because a lot of families talk about the pressure. It just, if they don't move about in one, you know, being together, united, just think about all the chaos that they would be creating and what that will look like when it spill over into the children. That's really beautiful what Sean and Faith said about you guys. It should make you feel proud as parents.
It does. It does, especially knowing the statistics for families with special needs kids, the divorce rate, and how families, you know, it's just can be burdensome. I will say, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I can tap into how it felt coming through the years. And somebody that I think probably felt it along with me in some circumstances is Faith, because I was volunteering at the school. She was always in the car with me. She saw me chasing after Roman. She was, you know, I think she saw a lot with me. And so I think she, you know, I love to see the compassion that she has now and wanting to work with kids. And so I really just really thank God for giving me the strength, because there are days, and I know Paula definitely relate to this, where you just, this is it. This is about all I can take. Really, God, I really can't handle no more. I'm being truthful and honest. I can't handle no more. Like, take me now. You know, like, you just feel, it just felt like it was something, such a heavy weight that I couldn't carry. And then sometimes I always felt like, who would understand? Who could I share this with that would really relate to how I understand? And I didn't have a platform like this of hearing someone saying, it gets hard, it gets overwhelming. I understand you. I cried sometimes. I cried many times. I didn't want to wake up the next morning. You know, like, you don't hear that. And so I will say that I'm so grateful looking back, seeing how God has carried me through and given me an inner strength, because the way David worked and traveled to take care of our family, you know, that provided the health insurance we needed. That provided the co-insurance that we had to pay out of pocket for. You know, he was doing a tremendous part, and it came at a sacrifice, but God gave us both the strength that we needed, the wisdom. I'm gonna be honest, I just would be flat on my face because I just didn't know what to do. Going into an IEP meeting, I don't know what to say. It sounds like a different language in my head. And he would just give me things to say. and everything. And then just advocating for any kid, for Nashawn, just asking the right questions, dealing with teachers in the school. Like, you know, sometimes it's so much. And I will say, you just never know how much you can handle until you're given something and God bring you through. You be like, I would, you know, you might look at somebody else's situation and be like, yeah, I couldn't do that. You don't know what you could do, especially with God. You don't know what you could do.
But Crystal, I want you to highlight, and I don't think you talked about this early on. I know you was talking about how Dave is providing for y'all, but can you tell people, because I don't know, people think that you're out and about at a job or what have you. Tell us about, you know, you and Dave's individual role in the household, because I don't think people probably know much about you.
Well, I will say that I have been a stay-at-home mom for 23 years. So I have been in the home. I have not held a full-time job in 23 years.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, you have.
I'm sorry, a full-time job with pay.
Well, hubby pays you too.
I do pay. I pay. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm gonna pay to overwork. Where's my union?
But I just wanted people to hear that.
No union. No union.
Crystal is a college graduate, but one thing that I loved about her and Dave, and of course, this would have to be something that the husband and the wife came together and made the decision that, listen, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go outside the house and work, and you're going to work in the house. That had to be something that you guys came together and made the decision on. Because
I will say,
you looked at the needs of your family. That's what
I'm just going to say, because I do think that is the speculation that the majority of the people think that's kind of how we did. And that's not how it came together. Okay. We had moved to Tennessee, and we had a 6-week-old and an 18-month-old. And it was, I think we were like, you know, I was trying to find employment. I was a teacher, a high school science teacher, and I was trying to get back in the teaching field. And I'm going on these job interviews and things like that. And I'm just not finding any leeway. And the church I was attending, I remember they had like noonday prayer, and I started going. So I'm like, God, like, Dave, like, Chris, you're gonna need to get a job. And I'm like, I'm trying to get a job. Like, you know, he had exited the military, and we was just in a place of like, now we're civilians, we don't have all those extra benefits, we need extra income. And I blatantly heard God said, you know, you're doing what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. And I was like, I don't think that's a good answer I could take back to Dave. So I was just like, God, like, you really got to like be real, like almost knocking upside my head. Like, I really need to know this is you. And I remember going to Dave, and I was like, Dave, God told me like he wants me in the home. And he was like, Dave was like, I don't know who you was talking to. Dave was not in agreement at first. And then I was like, then that's something you're going to have to take up with God. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? And I think Dave just fell in agreement with it in obedience. And I'm going to be honest, staying home. At first, I was like, okay, I'm home. And I had 2 little babies. Next thing I know, I had a lot of doctor's appointments for Jael. And I was like, man, if I had a job, they would have been like, you gone immediately. And this is within the first like 6 to 8 months of living in Tennessee. And then not only that, it just was like, then I was like, I don't know if this is what I want. This is hard work. And it was like, then I was just like, I don't really like this. And you know, it was just hard work, like just everything. Like I used to see like my cousins send their kids to daycare and their kids like get potty trained and stuff. I was like, oh, this is hard work. Like, you know, then I just would just start asking God to help me with everything. Like, how should I potty train? How should I get them off a pacifier? Like it was me asking about menial stuff. And that to me is stuff that started increasing my faith and my trust in God, because I was asking about the smallest little thing. Again, I was away from family. So it was just me, and I was having to figure it out. And then, you know, I will say it was when we moved to Michigan. It's been a couple of times I was like, Dave, I just want to put in my 2-week notice. I just can't do this no more. And Dave be like, Dave be like, girl, I'll rip that thing up. You can't put it. I ain't got a replacement. He was like, because when it got to Daniel and Roman, it really, I was dealing with different dynamics and everything. And so it was just like tougher, just in different areas. And I just thought, I don't think I have the wherewithal to do this. And they was like, I don't got a replacement, girl. You got to keep going. So, you know, that is how I came home, because I think it is a misconception. A lot of people are like, you and Dave came together for you guys to come on one. First of all, coming down to one income is a huge sacrifice, you know, to obtain the things. And it's just by God. I believe that. I thank God that he blessed me out of more so obedience.
But you look at how he blessed the family. I mean, Dave, can you see how you see? I mean, a lot of times when things happen and it's something contrary to what we want to do, you're like, ain't nowhere in the world. But you see, as time, what they say, by and by, how God was in that whole thing. But I thank God, because it needed for you guys to work together, and for her, it's like for you to have a strong conviction, Crystal, and for you to even be able to take it to your husband, and he went along with it. I mean, as time went on, he went along with it, but you see that God was in that entire process.
It was. I think when we really did have the conversation, it was like, okay, and I will say this: it properly motivates the other party to make sure that you're doing everything you can, because I mean, at the end of the day, to Chris's point, it is a sacrifice. And some people, you know, you're willing to make the sacrifice, but not realizing that things come in concession with that. So in other words, you'd be like, I want that purse, or I want to get this new car, or I want to, and
She
you
got
have to
it
prioritize.
all.
What's it? Yeah, she did. Yeah, right
She
there.
got
Yeah,
it
she
all.
did. But
She got it all.
I
Okay.
say that I'm properly motivated on this end. I'm properly motivated. I thank the Lord for the job and the promotions that have come along with it. But I will say this: I think that, you know, not realizing the commitment that you have to make as a parent when it comes to all of the extra hospital visits or all of the other IEPs or the other things that go along with it, it's a handful. It is. And I will say this: thank the Lord for Chris, because I know that there are times I could not make those things, and I would not have had, or we as a family unit would not have had the insight that we needed because one of us wasn't there. So you know, as much as she's appreciative of what I do, I promise you I'm as appreciative of what she does.
26 years later, this is one of my favorite couples. I love you guys. You all know that. I mean, when I was by myself, I looked at what Dave was doing, and I just was like, Crystal is so blessed. You know what I'm saying? The kids are so blessed. The family was so blessed. There was never a time that I came around that they were at each other's throats, like, you go get the Pampers. I mean, it was just like, it was harmonious. And that's when you know God is in it. And I even say, Crystal, when you were saying sometimes you didn't feel like waking up, it was times for me that this was my favorite saying: I'm not gonna get any peace until I go see Jesus. That's what I used to say all the time. I mean, and I did, because I felt like my life was so chaotic from the moment I opened my eyes to the time I went to sleep. It was like, God knows I'm pulled from pillar to post, but God. And years later, you see that you're still here, you're still standing. When you say, I used to always say, if I wake up to the same situation, I ain't gonna make it. I went to sleep to it, I woke up to it, and I lived with it. So again, our show is to encourage those that are just starting out this journey. If you see us, we're not making this situation look all pretty. We're telling you just a snapshot of what we dealt with. But guess what? We're still here to talk about it. We're still in our right minds, and we're making it. And look at our kids. They're just prospering. Look at this beautiful family. I mean, it's a blessing. It's truly a blessing. Wow. I just say, God is good. God is good.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Crystal and Dave, for just your transparency to share the challenges, the struggles, and the blessings. Because a lot of times, sometimes we quit too soon before those blessings come, and we give up. So I appreciate you letting them know about the challenges, struggles, and then staying the course to see the blessings. Because if we stay the course, things does get better. When we learn, when we get out there and we start, finding resources to help, things does get better. So I appreciate meeting the family and seeing everybody, and the second mom, the second dad, the third mom, and everybody. It's a great family. John got everybody in check. Sean got them in check, and then here comes Faith. I love it. And Daniel, where's Roman? Roman, where did you go? Come back, Roman.
He's like, I got things to do.
He said, "Y'all got me sitting here."
Ro asked to go to the bathroom and he ain't never come back.
Oh yeah, that's slick. That's slick. Yeah, nah, they smart.
He's just like, "Hey, I'll be back, Mom."
Well, we're gonna give you guys an opportunity to kind of close out the show. Give us some encouraging words that you would say to a family just starting out this journey.
Welcome back, Roman.
Oh, one of them. Oh,
anybody can start.
I guess.
Oh, okay. I probably was ready to the parents.
I would say that, just continue to support one another. I feel like having someone in your family with special needs, it can be a challenging thing, but it's also a life learning thing. It has taught us so many things, and I really feel like you should know that it is a blessing. You get to learn things about people that other people have yet to understand, and it should be a norm. I feel like I hold people at a high standard because I look at my mom, who's heavily educated, and I'm like, I wish other people were as educated as her. I feel like I want families to know to just be there for one another. Like, establish, like, as soon as possible, we're going to be here for one another. We're going to support one another. We are family. And you can't change that, but you can embrace that. And I feel like that's what we do in our family, and I feel like a lot of people, they look at us and they see a family who truly cares for one another, and I hope other people can aspire to just care for one another, like loved ones with special needs, because it really is. People might not think it's the norm, but I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It teaches us so much. And if you just continue to love, to care, and to support one another, there's nothing that you can't get through. So that's what I would tell family.
All right, ma'am.
How you follow that? What do you
Right.
add to that? What is
I'm gonna attempt to.
Sibling.
So picking off of it, like, anything is possible. Like, just outside, the Lord being in the aspect. Yeah, I would say I also hold both of my parents to a high standard. Like, they kind of set the bar. So I feel like not only can each of us follow up with it, but in the future, should any of our kids have, disabilities, I feel like even though I don't know everything, I'm more than well equipped to be able to handle. And it's not even a challenge. It's just another path in life. So, like, that's how I believe, that's how we all view it. It's not our norm. A bad thing. It's like, it's not taboo, and we shouldn't treat other people like based off of that first assumption. Like, it's very ignorant, and we all can grow from it too. So I'm like, yeah, anything's possible. So.
Ja, did you want to share anything? Did you want to say anything about your sisters and brothers?
Yes, they're lovely.
Thank you.
All day.
Roman likes to sleep in her room all day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I just happened yesterday. That's what just. Oh,
I see all day.
Yeah, you be sleeping all day in your bed.
Yes.
I'm like, stop putting
Who's
my
that,
business
Daniel?
out there.
That Roman
like
loves you. There you
I'm
go.
putting them out. I'm putting them out.
I need that stuff.
She likes
You need your.
herself.
She said
Yeah,
she want to
like
be by
her
herself.
personal space. Yeah, and Roman does like to sleep.
And that's
with
real.
her.
That's
And
real.
and then sometimes we have to fight for Ja. We have to say, Roman, not tonight. She needs her space, not tonight. But I can guarantee you, when I wake up in the morning, he is in her bed.
That's love. That's
He
love.
loves sleeping with her, and she allows it. Daniel, is there anything that you want to share about your siblings or your family?
Well, you have people that understand you in case you're like you're going through something.
So that's what your family, they understand you. That's awesome. Thank you.
I love it. We love you, Daniel. You know that.
Girl, he was trying to get up
Where
out of
is
here.
Roman?
You're like,
No,
Roman
tell Roman
said-
come back.
He said his piece. He said his siblings are lovely.
I'll take it. You are lovely indeed.
So, Crystal and Dave, we're going to let you guys close us out.
Thank you for presenting, having my family on. What you see is what you get. Bunny, this is the crew, and they're a fun bunch. And I thank God for these 5 gifts that he's given me. And I ask him for the wisdom each day to care for them because, I gave them back to him and I want to do what he wants me to do with them. And so I thank you for this platform to just share a portion of some of the things our family has talked about, dealt with from different views. And I hope it was helpful for someone else.
Dave.
I think the thing that comes to mind is just the word intentional. Paula, you had asked, a young family starting out, you got to be intentional. You have to be intentional in prayer. You have to be intentional in commitment. You have to be intentional in the love and the discipline. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean, like, put the structure in place that will shape a foundation. You have to be intentional in regards to what the now is and to the future. All of these things, you have to be intentional in your prayer life. You're not going to have all the answers. There are going to be times where you fall short. But you have to realize, and even this, there is still glory to be had for him. And the strength that he's going to give you will put the testimony that will turn into triumph for you. Because if you don't see how there's victory in a challenge, you would think that the next challenge that comes, there will only be failure. And I promise you, there is victory in everything. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, you're going to have to commit even on the tough days that it's worth it. It's worth it because at the end of the day, truth be said, they need us. They need their village. They need, and we can't sit back and be like, today I can't. You can say it, but while you're saying it, get up and move. Be intentional.
I love you guys. You know that. I love
you.
Yes, we love it. And I think this was a great podcast. And again, we pray that all that are listening, that you draw strength from our testimonies. That's what ultimately this is all about. So with that being said, guys, we want to thank you guys for joining us, letting us into your home tonight. We appreciate it. We appreciate you taking times out of your busy schedule. Daniel and Roman, get out of here.
Right.
But we even appreciate our younger ones taking time out of their day and sharing your family with us. So again, guys, thank you so much. And we will see you guys. We will see our listeners next Thursday for another exciting show, another episode of Advocacy. All right, guys. Love you all.
Bye. Love you.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.